Yo people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another video. Big up your damn selves in the building. Make sure you smash up the likes every single damn time and subscribe if you're new. Today's video this morning, I bring to you player ratings with a calm, composed head. The grieving period was last night, yesterday, after what was a dramatic draw against Arsenal. Infuriating draw against Arsenal, to be quite frank. But I've been rewatched it, having gone back over it and seen the statistics for certain players as well, some very interesting statistics. I can look forward with a happier head, I guess, but this player ratings will be very honest, very brutal for some players and very kind to others, because it was a game of, I wouldn't even say two halves, I would say it was a bipolar game. Some of it we could reflect on and say we were fantastic for most of it, and then there was an absolute shit sham towards the end, which completely changed the whole tide of not only the result but the feeling as well. But I want to start with some interesting statistics that I took from this and saw from this game. Cole Palmer, 98% passing accuracy, only misplaced one pass the whole game, which is ridiculous for someone that was playing in this false nine, double 10 pressing position with Conor Gallagher to, stop the central progression of Arsenal, passing progression of Arsenal through the middle. You'd think that this guy would have given the ball away a bit more and, been a bit more loosey-goosey with it. This guy only misplaced one pass and only lost possession, I think, 4 times out of like 35 touches, which is really good. Really, really good ball retention from Cole Palmer. Obviously scored his goal and was just, an overseeing figure, even at the top end of the pitch where he's not best. We see him best in the 10 or off the right with a supporting cast and with a target man to play off of as Jackson, and we've seen a good chemistry and relationship with him, but he had to do a different job and he did it very well. So fair play to him. He got man of the match in the end for us and well deserved. Took the pressure penalty. I think Enzo and Sterling had a little bit of a back and forth. Maybe Sterling was trying to give the penalty to Enzo, or Sterling wanted to take it himself. I'm not sure what the communications were, but Enzo was basically saying give it to Palmer. He stuck it away, his second penalty successive. And I was thinking back in that West Ham game, if only he had been around then, he would have scored that too, probably at Olympic Stadium, and put us 2-1 up going into half time. And maybe that result would have been different. So Cole Palmer, interesting statistic there. And Gallagher, 4 key passes. 4 key passes and assist. Obviously assist for Mudryk, which in the end was a very fortuitous goal that he scored. But listen, we'll pretend that he meant it. Unbelievable moment for him. Unbelievable celebration as well. But really, really strong performance from Gallagher. Off the ball, we talk about all the time, winning his duels, intercepting, tackling, but also receiving the ball in that double 10 position, was driving at the defence constantly, laying it off for others, setting up chances. 4 key passes does not happen by accident, so a very impressive performance. These are coming in games, and we spoke about, I think a few weeks ago or last week, Gallagher's going to be crucial in these big games because we're not going to dominate possession. We didn't against Arsenal for large parts, but when we receive and win the ball back, that ability to counter and then to play in that space and to pick those moments to carry the ball, he's doing very well. Similar and reminiscent to what he did for Crystal Palace as well. When they were playing against Manchester City, Etihad, I think they picked up a win. Man City, that was kind of, Palace was their bogey team that season when Gallagher was there, when he was instrumental in so many big games. Tottenham as well, he's fantastic. In those games where they don't dominate possession, but they transition very quickly. And we've been doing that in the last couple of games. We've been successful. Teams have left us space in behind. We've transitioned very quickly. We're not facing low blocks. It doesn't feel congested and claustrophobic. And Gallagher is thriving, not only playing higher up and not playing in double pivot, but also playing against sometimes unsettled defenses or teams that are, not settled in their defensive shape. So doing very well. 4 key passes, fantastic performance, and you'll see that reflected in my player ratings. Very impressive. So we'll start with Sanchez, player rating. Number 1, he's getting 1 out of 10. It was a shoddy, shocking performance. Gave the ball away for the first goal. The second goal, you could argue that should he be getting beat from that tight angle? Yes, you can argue it. And also, he could have easily given Arsenal a penalty for the collision with, I think, Tomiyasu for the set piece. He also collided into our players. That was the moment that Silva had to tell him to calm down, slow your roll, chillax. You're losing, calma. You're losing your head here. You've lost your mind. Unfortunately, he didn't listen and he continued to move reckless regardless. Now, to stick up with Sanchez after I've given him a 1, he's doing very well for all statistics. I think he's 3rd for save percentage in 75% this season or something like that. It will come up on screen. He's doing very well for passing accuracy, as we already know. We've spoken about it. Long range passing. He's performing better than many other keepers that I expected to do. Rayas and Onanas. And Raya had an absolute shocker this game as well. You know, Raya was awful. And it's just going to show, once again, that if you don't find a world-class keeper on the market, and I know a lot of people have been talking about Big Mike at AC Milan, seems to be susceptible to injuries. And I don't want another injury-prone player in the team. So even though he's very good, he seems like he's got injury issues at AC Milan, which we've seen recently. We need a world-class goalkeeper. Sanchez is not that. That's not a shock to the system. That's not a surprise. We knew when we signed him for the fee we did, even though it was probably over the top the fee for a player that was on the bench for Brighton. We know that he's not world-class, so we're going to improve upon him or look to improve upon him, whether that's in-house with Petrovic or Stalina, or that's outsourcing that world-class keeper by going and buying someone on the market. Not that there's many out there, which is probably why we ended up with Sanchez in the first place. Onana, you know, a lot of people's preference, has been awful this season for Manchester United, and Big Mike, like I said, is pretty much injury prone. You don't really get that with a keeper, but he is. So it's not like as if there was loads of options out there, and statistically, he's not awful. I know right now, in the moment, we are absolutely infuriated with his performance, but there were performances where he prevented goals, and I've got the goals prevented kind of stat line for you on screen. Obviously, if it's over 0, he's prevented more goals than maybe he should have. If it's under, then he has let the team down in a sense, and he's not saved what he should have. And it's, you know, pretty fairly balanced in the Premier League this season. Some performances you could say there was an upturn after what was a pretty shoddy, you know, disappointing, underwhelming start. West Ham in particular, and then Nottingham Forest and, you know, Bournemouth. He started to really peg it back. And Aston Villa. So listen, it's back and forth with Sanchez. There's some things he sometimes shows us he's really good. He got save of the month in September. Sometimes he's going to give us those shoddy, you know, kind of loosey-goosey bozo moments with the passing. Long passing can go out of touch, or it could stay in play. Like I said, statistically he's performing quite well, but we've seen it with our own eyes. He's been somewhat troublesome at the best of times against Brighton, etc. So I've given him a 1. Will he be dropped for Petrovic in the next game? I don't think so. Petrovic didn't play against Luton. He didn't play against Wimbledon. He didn't play, you know, in any of the cup games. So I think Sanchez is going to play. And listen, I'm not excusing what Sanchez did. He was awful against Arsenal, but he's also not a bum. He's not awful. He's just not world class, and he's going to make errors, and he's going to perform to a medium standard. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. And that's what we signed up for. We knew that when we signed him. Gusto, I'm going to give a 7. I would have given him higher if he didn't play a part in the goal conceded for the second goal. He was not watching the run of Trossard. He let him go, and that was the only thing that really brought his rating down, because he was immense apart from that against Martinelli. Really locked him up. But a defence that concedes 2 goals and you're involved in one of the goals and you didn't keep an eye on things, you're going to have to take a hit for that. Silva gets 9. Thiago Silva was immense. Incredible interceptions, incredible blocks, incredible reading of the game, incredible ability to stay with play at a high intensity for his age at 39. One of the best, if not the best, centre-back on the pitch. The pitch that had Saliba, that had Colwell, that had Gabriel. He was the standout. So unbelievable. And we were defending for large parts. At least we were, you know, field tilt. Arsenal were mainly in our half trying to, you know, force the issue. But they didn't create a lot of chances, and that was down to him. I think they only had, you know, 3 shots on target in the whole game, none before the 78th minute, and a lot of that was down to Silva's reading of the game, his anticipation, seeking danger, and covering for a lot of players, including Colwell. There's a few times he covered for Colwell. Colwell gets a 7, decent performance, but Silva was the standout for me, and Cucurella gets an 8.5. Unbelievable performance at left back. Yes, Saka gets the assist, but Saka was pretty much kept on lock throughout that game. Didn't make a single noise, not a peep from him all game. Gets the assist, but there's somebody else that I want to kind of pinpoint on that goal even more than Gusto and Cucurella, and we'll get to that later. Caicedo, 7.5. Strong, sturdy performance, brilliant in the first phase, brilliant in build-up. You know, fantastic at receiving the ball under pressure, bopping it about, just fantastic. Won the ball back a few times as well, crucially. Very good performance. Enzo gets a 7. Slightly lower than Caicedo. I don't think he was as integral to Caicedo. Did he let the ball just blister past him, you know, blossom past him in the Sanchez era? Maybe, but I'm mainly putting it on Sanchez, which is why he got the 1. But Enzo, yeah, it did go past him. Could he have stopped it? Listen, I don't think he knew that the pass was going nowhere, but Declan Rice's right foot. So, hey, what can you do? Put it on a plate for Rice. Can you imagine putting it on a plate for Rice? It's a pun, but it's not a fun one at all. Gallagher gets a 9. Superb performance. Like I said, key passes, 4 assists. And then off the ball tackles, interceptions on top of that. Yeah, this guy gets a 9. Fantastic performance, one of the top performers in the team. And yeah, integral to stopping, like I said, the central progression of Arsenal's play through the middle. They got through one time in the first half, which I mentioned on the review. Rice had that outside the right boot shot, went wide. And Odegaard was he was muted today. Yesterday he was muted. His volume button was off. Silence from Odegaard, and mainly because we did not let the ball funnel through constantly. And Gallagher was a huge part of that with his pressing with Palmer as well. Sterling gets a 7. Solid performance again from him. Very solid. Mudryk gets a 7.5. Obviously the goal, wonderful goal, one of the goals of the season. Absolutely meant it. Incredible finish. Left foot on his weaker foot, lobbed the keeper. Bellissimo. Yeah. So Mudryk gets a 7.5. And then Palmer gets a 9. Palmer was man of the match, I think, on record. Took his penalty well. Worked his arse off. He had to come off. I know people are talking about the substitutions. Why did Palmer come off? And Mudryk, you could make a case for, maybe didn't need to come off, but he always seems to take him off at 60-ish minutes. There must be a reason. I don't know what it is, but you could definitely debate that. Palmer had to come off. Palmer absolutely had to come off later on in that game. He was absolutely exhausted. There was a few moves towards the end, maybe rounding the goalkeeper. If he had a bit more energy, would he have laid it back for Gallagher, who was in that kind of move as well? Could have backheeled it for him, then it would have been a clearer shot on goal, or would he have just scored? He was dead, on his feet, absolutely exhausted. The longer the game went on for Palmer, the more his actions started to kind of fade. Nothing to do with quality, just pure exhaustion. He put in a shift. So he definitely needed to come off. Now, subs, Jackson gets a 4. Missed chance when he came on, cold feet. I think that was his first touch of the game. Like I said on the review, I didn't want to really lay into him because it was him coming on and his first few touches, and it just, it's not exactly going to be crisp and sharp, but disappointing nonetheless with his impact. And passing accuracy was actually 100% from him, so he retained the ball well, but he could have actually put us 3-0 up. He could have put us further ahead. Madueke, 3. Madueke really disappointing for the goal. The second goal, when you watch it back, and I didn't watch it back immediately. I watched because I was angry, I was shouting, but I watched it back before I made this video, and Madueke so lazily stuck his leg out. So and Cucurella had a serious hard shift. You're coming on your fresh legs, left hand side. That's a questionable substitution to put him on the left wing. But listen, he had to maybe bring off, who was it at the end? I can't even remember who came off. He had to take off Sterling, I think it was Sterling. Maybe again, Sterling, maybe Tyron, I don't know. But Madueke come on, and one of the fully fit players who played in England internationals over the midweek and the last couple of weeks. Come on, lazy leg. You should have nothing but energy, intensity, anticipation, all of those things. And he just was awful for the goal. So 3 he gets. And listen, he's got a lot to prove, because I've spoken about it before on another video. Angelo Gabriel is smashing it for Strasbourg. We've got Kendry, the Ecuadorian brother, will be here soon in a couple of years. We've got more, whispers. There's so many wingers coming through, and just be careful, brother. You need to raise your game. You need to break into this team. People are saying, why is he not starting sometimes in the lineup? Well, here's your reason why. Defensively, awareness-wise, from that West Ham game where Emerson Palmieri scored at the Olympic Stadium last season, well, Madueke didn't track him then. He ain't doing his defensive duties here. And with the work that Mudryk's putting in on and off the pitch, you're clearly not a favourite right now in the starting 11, and rightly so. So you need to pick up seriously. That was a really poor moment for you in a game we were winning and we were trying to hold on. James, 5, came on, didn't do anything wrong, but didn't do anything at all, really. Just come on. Now, I sympathise with him again as well, just coming back, not fit, so he gets a 5, standard, nothing score. Clearly, half of these, 2/3 of these guys that came on weren't really ready to start. That was kind of clear in their impact, which was little in Jackson and James. Madueke, you get a lot less sympathy because you weren't injured over the international break. So Pochettino for me gets I'm going to give Pochettino a 8, because 80% of the game we were great. And then we capitulated. And I mainly put that down to individual errors from Sanchez. I think without Sanchez's blunders, that doesn't happen. The only question mark I say with the substitutions, could he have brought on Leslie Okachuku? Maybe so. That would have maybe tightened it up in midfield. But I have to preface this. Enzo and Caicedo were balling out before the goals were conceded. Before Sanchez sent shivers through Stamford Bridge and absolutely shit the bed, we were passing the ball, bopping it. Some of the build-up was just beautiful. You wouldn't really want to, you know, change that, alter that, throw Leslie in there to potentially, with cold feet as well, slow that down or make it less fluid. We were passing it beautifully, almost too well. It was almost too good to be true. So it was working until it didn't, and it didn't because Sanchez decided to have a clanger. Then the whole game changes, and maybe you could say to Poch, right, we've conceded now. The whole, you know, atmosphere and aura has changed in the squad. They're bricking it. Now let's get some Leslies on. Let's get some, you know, protection. You made 3 subs, you had 5. You could have maybe brought Leslie Okachuku on. I'm not going to talk too much about Disasi and Badiashile coming on to make it a 5 back 5, because we don't know the fitness levels and we don't know what they're even capable of doing when they come on because of the assessments and injury issues and just coming back. So I'm not going to lay into him too much on that one. And the team was not conceding a lot of shots, so if any. So again, it's just maybe the Leslie Okachuku one, but like I said, it's a lot of hindsight. We were doing very well until Sanchez decided to do a madness. So that's my ratings. Make sure you smash up the likes. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your ratings for the team, each individual and the manager. And we'll see you guys next time. Big up your damn selves. In a bit, people. Peace.